here.
What's up, everybody? It's your favorite killer of humans, favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the masterpiece movie Optimus Prime. This is on loan to me from Robert D. Shout out to him. He's really right by me. A lot of people ask me to take a look at stuff like this, and otherwise I never ever would. But because he buys all this sort of stuff, he's nice enough to send it my way, so I thank him, and you should thank him as well if you were interested in my opinion on this. Let's get started. He comes with two man-killing swords. It's a yellow translucent plastic, and we have some Cybertronian kind of hieroglyphs sort of sculpted in. That's nice, and then some more sculpt work down here, and then the silver paint on this stuff, which isn't done the best, but it's not hateful. It just gets a little spotty in some areas. And then same for the other one, and they both can be used on his hands, well, on his wrists, really, by moving this hand inward. And then you take this and make sure that the blade is towards the outside. And then his hand is always kind of at an angle, but he does have the sword, so I guess it's ultimately worth it. And then he comes with one man torso-destroying gun, which is actually a little simple for my taste, and some hollow sculpt work that looks a little goofy. The nice thing is they did put some burnt paint effect on here, which looks like it was done with an airbrush, and he holds it in kind of typical masterpiece fashion by tabbing in to the palm of the hand, and then you should have no problem. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hold on, Uncle Skullface. What if I want to take his man-killing weapons and store them on his back? Hasbro and Takara have you covered, kid. Just keep the gun like this. Plug the sword into the side of the gun. It's a tight fit like a tiger, and then you'll notice that you should have the barrel going one way, the blades going the other way, so you can kill from both sides, obviously, and then the curvature of the blade facing upward. At that point, utilizing that slot there in the middle, you should be able to tab in your murderous assembly into his back and store his weapons. And the same thing sort of applies for truck mode. You just install it the same way, and then you kind of have this little bit of business there on the back, if that's your thing. But we're not quite finished. We have a matrix, of course. What good is a prime without a matrix? And it's a little bit of a challenge to get to with my digits, but if you just sort of get all this stuff out of the way. Let me get a tool. There we go. Open this up here, and then there's his matrix of leadership. Some nice detail. It's die cast, which is nice, and it's all silver. I doubt they painted it. It's just the metal sculpt itself, but it does the trick, and it looks good. And then lastly, gimmick-wise, a lot of man killers like to use a mask when they perform the job, but if you would like him to have a more relatable face, you can twist up the head here, turn this around, tuck it back in, and now you have a crab face Optimus. It is a decent sculpt. All right, so let's talk about the figure. The head is on a swivel, basically. You can't really get any look down, and if you go any further up than that, it kind of reveals the guts underneath, and it doesn't really work, in my opinion. You can get it all the way up to there. It just looks absurd, and you can't really get any further down. A lot of paint and stuff on the face. We'll talk about that. Mostly silver accents, and then we have the blue paint for the eyes. But it's throughout, and it's even on the sides and stuff. And it's limited swivel, too, because this side pieces get in the way, so you have to break the sculpt and then get around it. It doesn't really work. So it's not the most effective, but it is there. Let's see what else. The shoulders are on universal joints, basically. So you can get all the way up to here. You have this is obnoxious also, but you have this shoulder piece here that can swivel out of the way so that you can get the full range, which is nice. And then you get a ratcheted swivel around. Now, this is your connector piece here to the shoulder piece, but it rarely stays. And also, this arm has some weight to it, and when you put a weapon in, it tends to droop the whole thing down if you have it fully extended, so that's a bummer. Paint-wise, we have red here, we have red and silver tampoed onto blue, we have silver paint here, we have blue and silver tampoed onto here, and blue and silver tampoed onto here, and most of the plastic is a metallic flecked plastic, which I do think is a nice choice. I think for companies that don't use paint, it's a nice way to go about it. X-Transbots could learn something from this. You know, like it's I don't know, it kind of gets the job done without adding the extra love. It has a bicep swivel, tons of sculpted little gears and bolts and stuff, just like the movie stuff. And then you have a single, or is it double? single hinged, single hinged elbow. Looks like gets you a great range either way. And then you have blue and gold paint here on the side. The wrist is on a swivel here. Of course, you get the hinge in, which actually is a nice touch for a lot of poses and stuff. And then you have a finger hinge here, and you have the fingers on a base pen knuckle. The bottom 3 are connected, and the trigger finger is individually articulated, plus an additional hinge here. And that hinge is pinned, which is nice. And I think that does it for the arms. There is a lot to talk about because of all the kind of like collection of things that the movie verse kind of has aesthetically. I'm going to try to hit as much as I can, so to speak. You have these pieces, they're die cast. These are plastic, but it looks like they have a silver finish. And then you have blue paint added there. You have the Tampo paint for the flames added to the chest. Tampo paint for the flames added to the sides. That all works well. And then you have some silver paint accents throughout. You have some die cast up in here that keeps the metal look. And it does give it a like kind of real authentic, you know, Bayverse look to it. Because I can't explain it, but it's not clean. Like it looks filthy. But it ends up looking believable because of its filth. The back cleans up fairly well, but you do have all the same sort of Tampo and paint accents with the flames and then the silver here. All right. We have translucent plastic over top of these bits here, which are die cast, and they're nice, and you can articulate them a bit, but I think they're supposed to be out to the side. These have drop-down hinges, much like a SH Figuarts. So you drop down the hips, and that allows you to get a waist swivel. Not the best... I mean, because it works. You know, I'm going to give it a pass. I'm going to give it a pass because ultimately it works. Pelvis is plain, so to speak, but tons of sculpted detail per usual. The legs are on ratcheted universals. You get all the way out to there. So full Monty? No, because this butt flap hems you up a little bit. And full Van Damme on friction, and this is a little looser than you would like it to be. You have these tires with silver painted on the inside. You have silver paint here on the legs, and it looks like blue paint as well to me. You have a thigh swivel that's hidden beautifully underneath this section. And then you have gold accent here added to the knee joint. I love when they put paint on the joints. It just gives it that little extra TLC to me. You have a double jointed knee, which gets you basically the 180. This knee flap does move around so you can keep the sculpt. And then you have the same Tampo paint down here on the legs. At least I'm assuming that's what it is. And then for this part, you actually have a little bit of extra love. So it looks like a digital paint effect going from yellow to fading out to orange and then leaving it to red, and then the Tampo paint over top, which does look good. And then you have some extra silver from the die cast bits, and then extra silver paint, it looks like, or at least a finish down here. And so that all works fairly well. And then ankle articulation, you get a good tilt down, which you don't really need. You don't get much of a tilt up at all, which you do kind of need. And you get a pretty decent rocker on it. I wish you could kind of get this piece out of the way to get a little bit more, but it still kind of serves its purpose. And it cleans up the whole bot-wise fairly well from the back. Size comparison-wise, there he is with MP10 and a Masterpiece car, so hopefully that will give you an idea as to the range. His ears sit maybe 1/8 of an inch higher, and that's about where he's at. Advise you to start in the back, open this up, and then you want to move this gray piece, swivel it so that it all aligns. This comes down, and then you want these to come around to the inside. So once again, open this up. We're going to rotate this gray piece so that it all aligns, and then rotate this gray piece so it all aligns, and close that down. Swivel the whole thing 180. All right, so open up this stuff here, and then you want to move these silver plates so that they're more properly angled, so they're not looking like an angry face. And then you can get these shoulders out of your way. They'll want to come unhinged anyway. Bring this whole armature out here. You may have to work the door around it, and out to the front. And then you can open these flaps here, bring down these smokestacks, and we can do a little bit more with the arms. We're going to fold these pieces to the inside. We're going to extend this all the way down so that it kind of starts to line up. Let me see here. Make sure that's right. Yeah, I think that's all we're going to do for now. And then we'll bring this piece here up. You got to clear it. It's a tight little hinge and around, and that covers up the hand. And we'll do the same for the other side. So, there we go. And around. And cover up the hand. Now your top two pieces you want to bring together and close the windows around it so that it all lines up nicely. And there's some translucent plastic here, so be careful. There's some pretty tight tolerances there. And then you want to fold these up. If you look, there's black pegs here and then ports there. So you want to fold those up on those armatures and kind of lock them in place. You can pull that whole section away right now. And on the other side, pull down this piece and then I'll get it re-angled so we can continue. All right, you can sit them down now like a child. And then open this up here. You want to fold these around. And then you can actually extend this whole section. So fold this down, fold these around, and extend the whole section. Now, it's the same sort of thing here with these side pieces. Open up this blue piece, which will extend this armature. Now, before you move any further, take this piece here out of its little compartment, and that just popped off, which is a bummer. So I'll have to fix that off camera, but it should sit 180. I'll see if I can't show you on the other side. Blue piece around. Pull out, so to speak. And then you have to get this around, but it doesn't want to go. There. Be very careful with these pieces here. Let me get the other piece in and we'll continue. Okay, so now you can tab in these armatures here. As you do so, rotate the tires so that it makes sense. And there's a port here and a corresponding tab there. And that should go together nicely. And then you can fold up your blue pieces here and tab in the front grille and the knees, and that should hold everything together pretty solidly. Okay, so let's get the arms. So open this up, and then this piece goes against the back of here, and then you need to break this thing down in here, and I'm trying to find the best place to do it, but you need to free up this double hinge system and get an idea for how it's gonna lay. So it's gonna lay like this, and the other thing that you want to do straight away is your matrix compartment. Open that up because the head will rest in there. And the other thing that we want to do right now is get the arms sorted, and we do that by kind of lining all of this stuff up here, and we want this arm to go into this space here. Let me see what the problem is and see if I can't fix it. All right, so I figured out what the problem is. You guys were probably yelling at the screen. So you got to bring this fuel can around, there. And then that will give you the clearance to get the arm all the way inside, and then you can tab in here to this silver tab there. Ooh, that just stressed that plastic, boy. Yikes. So same for this side. We'll tuck this fuel tool. And then we can tab all this together, but let's first line it up properly. There, that one didn't stress. And then you just want to line all this stuff up and tab it in the best you can. You want to bring, I'll do that off camera so we don't waste time, bring the head around so that that tucks in, and then we'll fix this here in a minute. And then the rear wheels, what is going on with me? Just bring these rear tires out here a taste. They usually sit up a little tighter. You can just bring them out a taste. And this is where things kind of get frustrating. So this has to come down, and you want to spin this around and angle this up so that this comes and encapsulates the rear wheels there. And we'll do that for the other side as well. And then we have to get this to fit over top. We can extend this as well. And that might be it. Sure. I'm scared to do it. You see me trying to do like all this other stuff first. All right, and then this. What does this do? Yeah, that comes down like that. So that's how you want this, and then this will plug back into there. Bring it out on that hinge here. There. All right, now this is the part that hurts. So we got to get this front end over top of all this business and hope it plugs in the best it can without bringing everything else out that we've worked so hard for. And this tabs into the front, so you can kind of start locking that in place. All right. And then we need that to go down. Try to get this in this. That tabs into the side here. Same on this side. And then these tab into here, and same for this side. I'm gonna do it off camera and see how close I can get it, but that's basically it. So there it is. And it's not quite perfect. I couldn't quite get this door all the way in here, and on this side I can't quite get this side all the way down, but I'm not putting any more stress on this thing because it does not belong to me. Let's see, at least try to get that plugged in. So there it is, and like, it's cool. I'll tell you, it's a lot smaller than you would think it would end up being. There's Tiger Tracks. Like, Tiger Tracks seems huge to me. Like this seems a little small, but unfortunately, I don't have the, the BumbleBee, because this isn't for me in general, but yeah, it's not bad. And like, the transformation is challenging to get everything to line up, but it's not the worst transformation in the world. You know, I heard a lot of people singing the blues about this, and I get it, but, you know, after you do G Creations Optimus, everything kind of seems like a walk in the park. So yeah, I mean, I think it definitely, you know, hits the character. It seems all right to me. The silver comes through, and the flames, and a little bit of airbrushing, or the digital fade in and gradient rather. And like, this isn't quite right either, but you know, I think you get the general idea. And yeah, I don't know, not hateful, I don't think. Seems fine. There's not a whole lot of detail here. Oh, this port here, this is on the back of his pelvis. You can use like track stand or whatever to get him to do action poses or flying poses or what have you. And like, these pieces aren't plugged in, but it was putting stress on the plastic. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's not elegant, and it's a bit a bit frustrating and a bit cumbersome, but it's still pretty good. Final thoughts wise for the negatives, I mean, of course the transformation isn't exactly fun, but it's not as bad, I feel like, as people are saying. Also, the head articulation sucks. You know, it's really hard to get him into a dynamic pose and then make the head kind of work, in my opinion. It's just not the best in that regard. There has been a number of stress marks put on this thing throughout the transformation process, so that's a bummer. That one on the red that we saw, that was the first time I ever tabbed that in. When other people send me stuff, a lot of times I kind of see how it works, and then without putting any extra stress or strain on something that doesn't belong to me, it's bouncing all around there. So a lot of people kind of ask about my process for reviewing, and I figured I'd give you a little behind the scenes look at what it looks like. So yeah, you know, the stress marks and stuff, it happens. That doesn't belong to me. I will, you know, just kind of see how it works and then go through it when I go through it to transform it, to just put the stress on it once. So that was the first time I had done it, and that was, and Robert hasn't transformed it, so that was a one-time use, and the stress mark instantly snapped on. So be mindful of that. And those shoulder pieces have a tendency to come out of place. So that's just an engineering issue that was not fully thought out. But I mean, the sculpt is decent enough. The articulation works pretty much across the board with the exception of the frustration of those shoulders. The hardware feels good. It has plenty of die cast to boot. Decent paint throughout. Nothing that's gonna blow your mind, but everything is done fairly well and sharp and clean. The accessories make sense for the character, and there's ways to store them in both modes for the most part. Cleans up like a champ, and the presence is definitely there. So do I recommend it? If you like the aesthetic of this, if you like the Bayverse and you want to be in for the line, I give it a recommend. If you're not a big fan, you just kind of like transforming robots, what is going on with me? I'm bringing down the house. And you like transforming robots, but you're not crazy about the way this looks, you're just hoping that it'll be cool enough, sort of a toy to make you love it, you're probably not gonna fall in love with it. But if you're in love with the Bayverse designs, I think it's a decent enough figure to add. I probably would add it if I was a Bayverse fan. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, until next time, take care.